We have another voicemail from an old friend. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Alexi and Mosse, it's Chase from Dallas. I'm back. Question for both of y'all. Alexi, you said in the past that the best MLS team could finish mid-table in the Premier League. Let's take it to the international side. Where do you think the U.S. men's national team would finish in the Euros this year? Playing in those environments and playing those teams. Thank you, guys. Love the pod.
Okay. Well, first off, welcome back. We love return callers. So thank you, Chase. Good to hear from you again. So keep them coming because you've done it again. You've made the show, and another interesting question when it comes to this U.S. men's national team. It's fun to play these different games. All right. So, when you look at some of these teams and some of these groups, and yes, there are the FIFA rankings and all that kind of stuff, but I would put them ahead of the likes of Scotland. I would put them ahead of the likes of Hungary and Switzerland, Albania, Denmark, Slovenia, Poland. So this is, I think, in the same way that this summer we look at the U.S. as a solid number 2 team within their group. And this is obviously a Copa America with South American teams. I think they would be a solid number 2 team in any of these groups that we have here. What about you?
Yeah, it depends on the draw. It depends on what pot they would be in and who they would replace in those groups that you're looking at. But generally speaking, I think there's probably 8 to 10 European teams that I think are clearly better than the U.S. So you're probably looking at getting out of a group and then either round of 16 or, if you catch a break, maybe quarterfinals. I think that's how I would look at it.
Yeah. So I mean, those are some of the comps. I think. Yeah. Does the style of the U.S. is it better suited to a Euros or better suited to a Copa?
Interestingly enough, with all the players now playing in Europe, you could argue that it's better suited for the Euros.
Interesting. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll see at some point. I mean, look, have they ever done guest teams when it comes to the Euros? Are they above that?
I don't believe so.
Oh, we wouldn't possibly, tarnish the Euros by having guest teams.
Unlike the World Cup, where there's never truly been a Cinderella champion, in the Euros you have had Greece in 2004, Denmark in 1992. So it's not crazy at the Euros that a team like that could get on a run and win the whole thing. So,
So I'm going to say, final answer here when it comes to Chase, that the U.S. would get out of their group, and I'm even going to say that they're going to win their knockout stage game, and that's where they would come up against some of these teams that you're talking about, Mosse, where as good as they are, the U.S. is not as good as them. And it bears repeating. Those are the types of teams and those are the types of games that Greg Berhalter has been charged with winning. And at some point, it can't be as quick when we just say, yeah, but we're not getting past that team. And who knows, maybe in the next couple of years, they find a way to be able to do it. Maybe this summer, they find a way to be able to do it because there's the potential when they get out of their group of playing some very, very good teams and teams that on paper, people would say the U.S. is not as good as them. They got to find a way to beat those teams where a lot of people say you're not as good as them.
That's it for Ask Alexi. We move on to One for the Road.
Okay. The United States Soccer Federation has announced that they are pulling out of the running for the 2027 Women's World Cup. Now, that's the bad news. Good news is they're only pulling out to put all of their efforts into the 2031 Women's World Cup. What this means is that it's now down to your friends Brazil for hosting 2027 and a combined effort joint World Cup in Europe between Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. So initial reaction, I'm sure there's people that when they heard this had my reaction. It's like, that's a bummer because, we talked about these next possibly 5 years and all the different things that are happening. Obviously, Club World Cup, Men's World Cup, Olympics, then we possibly were going to have 2027. And so to not have that, that's kind of a bummer. However, if you look at it from a practical standpoint, it also gives the United States Soccer Federation and soccer in the United States a much longer ramp. And while we time and time again have talked about the advantages and the opportunity that having this lead up to 2026 for the Men's World Cup has been, a lot of focus and attention, and let's be honest, resources in the next couple of years will be on making 2026 as good as it possibly can be. And there was plenty of talk, and I think legit and fair talk, that by putting so much focus on 2026, that 2027 happening just a year after would be hurt in terms of the process. And again, I think that is a fair concern to have. I don't think that it would have come to fruition, in that I think it would have been just as big. And there's even an argument to be made that you could use 2026 to promote 2027 in a unique and beneficial way going forward. Having said that, it's all done. Mosse, quick question for you. Between these two, who wins it?
There's never been a Women's World Cup in South America, so I think that argument will win the day at the end. That's how Rio got the 2016 Summer Olympics. So if I was putting my money on it, I would say Brazil. If it does happen to be in Brazil and we win the rights to it, when the whole State of the Union podcast comes down, they can check out my old stomping grounds where I grew up. I'll show everybody a good time in Rio, and that'll be fun.
Hey, let me ask you something. If the Women's World Cup in 2027 is in Brazil, will Manaus be a venue? Oh, my goodness. Look, I think it's going to be great no matter what. And I also think that 2020 or 2031, if the U.S. is awarded that, is going to be spectacular. And yes, it pushes it off a little ways, but it'll make it that much better. And these decisions don't happen in a vacuum. Everybody talks to everybody. Everybody has and comes to understandings as to, what the chances are, what the risks are involved. And I think strategically, the United States Soccer Federation recognized that, we'll keep some powder dry here, and we'll look to 2027. It does open up 2027 in the summer of 2027, and the ATM and the opportunity and the Wild West and the gold in them there hills that is the United States. Hey, not for nothing, but 2027 is now wide open for something to happen. I think we have Gold Cup and different stuff that's going to happen there, but no Women's World Cup. So disappointing initially, but in the greater scheme of things, I think that this is ultimately going to make the Women's World Cup, when it does come back, if it is in 2031, that much better. You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.